Right, and we are live. So, welcome back to Satisfactory, where last time we set up this fused modular frame place, and as you can see, no aluminum casings. The reason for no aluminum casings is, of course, no aluminum ingots, and the reason for that is because we haven't upgraded our aluminum ingot production to make this much. So we need to change that. How much? First of all, we need to calculate how much of these we need. So this first bit is going to be 780. I know because I set that up deliberately, and then it's another 60, 120, 180, 240, 300, 345. Is that right? So this would be 750. Yeah, let's probably 345 plus 780 is 1,125, which is a lot. It's almost a full Mark 6 belt, and we don't have Mark 6 belts. So we're going to have to head over to the aluminum supply and expand it by a lot. So off we go. The aluminum supply is, I believe, over this way. And we're going to have to make that production a whole lot bigger. So off we go. And we might have to worry about pipe throughput limitation as well in the intermediate steps. So this is going to be a bit tricky. And then there's also the bauxite supply to worry about. So this is going to be a bit of a process. I think we're going to need to add in... Oh, right. I think we're in the process of adding an additional bauxite mine in. Well, let's at least get the factory built first, because that's going to be a bit more. Well, you got to do them in some order, right? And we may as well do them in this one. Oh, this is high-speed connectors, right? The aluminum is the next one over. We can tell it's the one with all the pipes. That makes sense. Alright. So we are heading on over. And really what I think we need is just like a completely ridiculous amount, because this is probably not the last thing we use aluminum ingots for. Like, it's probably used for other things, and I don't want to keep expanding this constantly like this. So my want is to be able to take in all the bauxite physically possible and then output as much aluminum ingots as we have. Now that's going to be tough because this is, yeah, so it's depleting all of that bauxite pretty quickly. So let's see here. If we just... I guess we just try to use a Mark 5 belt of bauxite. Actually, what's the ratio for bauxite to what's it called? To aluminum. So sloppy alumina is 200 to 240. Then we use electrode alumina scrap. So this would be how much? For just 400? Yeah, so it's 200 bauxite to 400 aluminum scrap, and then back down to 200. So it's 1-to-1 from input to output. So if we use a full belt of bauxite, we can get out a full belt of aluminum ingots. So let's set that up. We're just going to grab more space over here. And we have to figure out the ratios and everything. So this is 105%, 105%, 90%. This is 84, 84, 72. So, okay, in terms of numbers, that's 420 there, 180 there. 180, 420 is 600, so 180 divided by 600. So 30% needs to be fresh water, and the other 70% can be recycled water. Alright, that's fine. We can actually just worry about that in a little bit once we have the machines in, and then figure out how to clock them. So we have all that. And then let's grab this. And these are going to be facing backwards. I don't want that. I want them to be facing forwards. So we get some refineries in. But we don't want these to be overclocked at all, because we're just going to have to add more anyways. So, if it's 70%, then 780 times 0.7 is 546. 546 divided by 3 is 182. And yeah, so that will work. 182 per minute. And then we paste those settings across. And then this is going to be 780 times 0.3, which is 234. So, do the numbers... Oh, the numbers are definitely not going to line up, because that's output and not input. So this has to be 182 over 200. Oh, it's got to be... It would be over 200, but then times 100, so just 91%. There we go. So now we can copy these settings across. And then this would be... We would actually need a second one. So we have that. And then this would be 234. Actually, wait. So it's that divided by 2. So it's 117 over 200 times 100. So it's that. Alright, if this is all correct, that would be very cool. So this is 200. So these two are 117 each. These three are 182 each. So 117 times 2 plus 182 times 3 is 780. So we have the correct numbers. That's a good start, at least for the 780 portion. And then this is going to make 218.4 times 3 plus 140.4 times 2. So we're going to make 936 alumina solution. And we just get a refinery down to check the math in. Then we go electrode aluminum scrap. 936 alumina solution is... Okay, so we have 936 divided by 180 is 5.2 of these. So the amount of water output is 105 times 5.2, which is 546 water, which is 182 times 3 is 546. All right. I believe the math works. So this is the correct lineup. And now we just have to figure out how to get this to split properly. And also we just need to bring power over here so that I'm not constantly like on the brink of running out. There we go. So, we do know actually that this is 30% there and 70% there. So if I do a 1 to 10 splitter, then I can just merge the 7 up and do a 1 to 3, merge the 3 up and do a 1 to 2. So that shouldn't be too hard. So let's just go back here, bring the power line over, and get some extra space because these tend to be a bit big. And then blueprints 1 to 5 balancer. Alright, this should be more than enough space. And then we just have another 1 to 5 balancer. Like so. Then we split into those two. And this is all going to have to be very fast in terms of belt speeds because we're getting 780 in. So let's make sure that that and this, if I can angle at it, are all Mark 5s. And that, the return belt should probably be super fast as well, just to make sure. And then that gets upgraded, and that gets upgraded. Alright, so we have 780 going in, 78 each coming out, which means these are going to need to be Mark 2s. And we have all of those. Alright, now we just have to merge these back up again in their correct numbers. So we get 30% going into there. And then we're going to have to do a bit more work to merge these up because there are more of them, obviously. So we go there, there, and there. And then we go there, there, and I don't know why some of these are different rates. We're just going to make them all Mark 5, so then those all combine up. And then we have another one where all of these combine up. And so now we have 7 in there. And we can just split into those 3. Meanwhile, this splits into these 2. And it's all connected up. Alright, so that should be that. In terms of splitting, let's actually just make sure. 78 times 3 is 234. Alright, math still checking out. The more times you check, the more likely you are to find something which doesn't line up and be able to fix it. So, let's bring this pipe over to here, and it will go into these 2. So we go there and there. Then we have a separate pipe here, which goes across into these 3. And please line up properly, or at least close enough. That's a bit crooked, but whatever. Alright, so we have all those. And now we just have to attach up the water to each of those. But we also have other steps first. And also, this is only 780. We actually need to do this whole thing a second time, because we need to make at least 1100. So 780 times 2 is going to be more like 1500, which is good. Gotta get some spare. So let's make all the space in the world. We're going to need so much space for this. And also, we're going to need so much bauxite. Alright, so now we take that. And we give it some space. And I don't know why it keeps wanting to flip them around. And we get 2 of those. Then we grab these ones, and we get 1, 2, 3 of those. Alright, let's bring power over to this general vicinity. Actually, I want to experiment with something. Do higher tier power lines go farther? So we're going to stay out here. I'm going to upgrade that, and no. Nothing changes. Alright, worth a shot. If that had been the case, then using Mark III power lines everywhere would have been much nicer, but it isn't. Alright, so now we go back to here-ish. And apparently that lines up. So then we poke those in. Bring power back to here again. And then put another blueprint in. And now we run through upgrading all these belts. There we go. And a little bit more of this. There we go. And then all of these need to be at least Mark II. Those all get merged up. And merger. Which takes all of those. And that's the easy one. And now we have to do the hard one. So you get a splitter. Or not a splitter. We need it to be a merger, obviously. So those all go into that. And then we have another merger there, where all of these go in. like that. And then one more merger here where all of these go in. There, there, and there. Alright, now we can split these across. So that goes into there. And then splits two ways there. And that goes into there. And actually, how many is this supposed to be? 180, so we can just use Mark 3s for this. Like that. And in there. Alright, so now we just have to get these two split. Boom. Boom. Also upgrade those because that might be important. And, alright, so that is this first section. Oh, we need to do the water inputs for this as well. Easy enough. So this goes across to there. And then we get this one, which goes across to here. And then they all get junctions and pipes. Alright. Done. Okay. So that is step one. Step one is get those in. Step two is the amount of petroleum coke that we need, right? Because that's the next floor up here. So this is making heavy oil residue, which looks like then loops around to make petroleum coke. Yes, alright. And the polymer resin is just being sunk. Bit of a waste, but sure. Alright, so we need to calculate how much of that we need. So, aluminum scrap, right? Because we're doing electrode aluminum scrap. So this would be making 780 per batch, right? So the amount, if that's 78, then this is 156 petroleum coke per batch. So 156 times 2 is 312, I think. Does that check out? So this is supposed to be 600, and we're getting 240. So 512 for 780 does seem like it's approximately the same ratio. So let's expand this floor out and get the petroleum coke machines in. Alright, so the petroleum coke, if we need 512 of it, would be 512 divided by 120 would be 4.267. So we can just get those in. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So then this will be 512 divided by 5 each. And paste the settings across. And we have all that. So next up is the heavy oil residue. 34.13 times 5 is 170.6 heavy oil residue. So we go here, and we get these in. 170.6, and these make them in batches of 40, so we're going to need 5 of these as well. Cyan, hello. We are expanding our aluminum production because last time we made a fuse frame factory, but we didn't have enough aluminum ingot production to supply it, so we are fixing that now. Yep, it was not exactly a surprise. I knew that it would be an issue when I made the factory. But, yeah, here we are. Alright, so we need 170.6. So that's going to be 5 of these. 170.6 divided by 5. Yep, as expected, it's just the same ratio. Alright, so that is that. Then we need to put in the crude oil pipe, which just goes in here and comes across to there. Then all of these junctions go in, and they all go across. Alright, so crude oil input is easy. Then we have to wrap around, and this makes polymer resin and heavy oil residue. So the polymer resin needs to be sunk for now. We're eventually going to be bringing all of that together to use for something, probably. To not waste it all, but for now it's just an unwanted byproduct. So these belts all go in like that. And then they all go across like that. And we can pop a sink in here somewhere. So, awesome sink there. Polymer resin, done. Now we just have to get out the heavy oil residue and send it across. So this goes all the way... Well, it goes all the way to there, and then all the way past these. Because it is also fueling the petroleum coke production. So all of these junctions go in. And then we connect them all up. So up we go. Now we have to connect these inputs. And now we have petroleum coke production. And how much? 512, so that will fit on a Mark V belt, which is quite convenient. So let's merge all of that up. And I don't know why I merged it this way. That's going to make it marginally more complicated to get out, but not really. We're just going to be sending it directly up anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Right. There we go. That last one goes out a bit, but that's fine. Alright, so petroleum coke check. Alumina solution check, although we do need to combine this up, and it's going to be a lot, right? 140.4 times 2 is 280.8 plus 218 point, what was it, 0.4? Yes. Times 3 is 936. Okay. So 936 alumina solution means we're going to have to send this up in 2 pipes, which I guess we can just deal with later because they'll just balance themselves across the 2 pipes. So we can just connect all these up and not worry about getting correct ratios or anything, because fluids will slosh about a bit, but if they're given 2 pipes to go up, they'll use both. So those connect up, and we almost ran out of power range there. So let's make sure that we have power over here. Alright, so petroleum coke production check, alumina solution production check, and we have 936 alumina solution and 512 petroleum coke. And so we're now going to have to see if I did the math right. So we fly up here and expand all this out. Oh wait, it's actually more than 936, right? Because I have 2 batches of this. Yeah, it's actually gonna be so much alumina solution. It's gonna be 936 times 2, and I need to connect these across as well. I somehow forgot about them. Okay, and I don't want that to be a Mark 1 pipe. That would obviously break everything. So those all link up and go into this pipe, which is actually going to be 2 pipes that are just connected. So, is the math correct? Go up here, we grab a refinery, and apparently we'll want them to face this way. And is that going to be lined up? Yeah, that's probably how I lined them up. Alright, so let's give it a little more space over there so that we have room to mess around. And then this is electrode alumina scrap. So, 936 times 2 divided by 3. So I think 1872 divided by 3 is 624, not 512. So I've done the math wrong. Wonderful. Let's go down here and see if this can be upgraded enough. So 624 divided by 5 is 124.8. Which is just barely more than this can handle. Alright, well, we can fix this because we have a little bit of extra room here. They're just adding 1 more on. And then the amount of heavy oil residue shouldn't be anywhere close to concerning. It's not going to fill a pipe. Okay, and then we have to also add 1 refinery of this. And this is... Hang on, I have to figure out what this last one has to be. So this is 512. We need 624 total. So this is 624 minus 512, which is going to be 112. Which is probably not the most reasonable way of doing that, because they're not all going to be producing at the same rate. This last one is producing marginally more, but I think that's probably fine. So now let's go over here, and before I do that, I have to actually memorize the number of how much this is. So this is 93.333%. So we go over here, and we get 93.333%. And then we merge that up into there. And petroleum coke production has been fixed. Alright, so now that we have 624 petroleum coke, we're going to need at least 11 of these. So let's go with 12 for making the number nice. And it'll be 6. It'll be 6 in 2 batches, I think. 2 batches of 6 is a less weird way of saying that. 4, 5, 6. And then this batch of 6 will be 780. Well, it'll be what? How much? Because it'll be 780 ingots eventually. But before that, it will be twice that much in aluminum scrap. Alright, so now we get these factories in. And we need to expand this out more. Alright, that should be enough temporarily. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So then each of these are going to be how much? So it's 780 times 2 aluminum scrap divided by 6 machines. So it'd be 780 divided by 3 per minute. So let's get this pasted across all of these guys. There we go. Alright, so we have that. Which means this is effectively going to give us 4 batches of 780 scrap, which will then combine down to 2 batches of 780 ingots. Alright, so 52 petroleum coke. So we need to split the petroleum coke across, which we can do pretty easily. So we just get that so that we have space for it. It's going to be a 1 to 3 splitter followed by a couple of 1 to 2 splitters. So that goes there. And that. And then this. Are these all lined up? No, there's somehow none of them are lined up. Wonderful. Alright, we're going to have them just be centered on that foundation. Oh, and this isn't even the right place for it anyways. It's supposed to be 1 over. Alright, we are almost done with the 1 to 3s. So then this one goes in and across those 3. And then let's go over here and make this one line up properly, just because for some reason this is the thing that I care about most in making factories look nice. What? What are you doing? Oh, I grabbed the wrong side. Okay. I grabbed the input instead of one of the outputs. Alright, so petroleum coke has been sorted. Now, each of these is getting 460-ish, maybe almost 470 aluminum. So these are all going to need to be separate pipes, I guess, for each batch of 3. And we should really finish the solid splitting before going on to the liquid splitting, but that's fine. The liquid stuff is quick anyways. So we get those in. And then across to there. And then another one across to there. Alright, so now these all connect up. And then we have to go in to finish the solids. Alright, almost there. And now the pipes go in. 1, 2, 3, not like that. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All the pipes are in. Alright, so the next step is getting these split across. So we get, these can just be maximally compact. And that's 52, so this is going to have to be Mark III belts going into them. Like that and that. And then do the same thing here. So you get a Mark III belt, and you get a Mark III belt. So then we just have one last one, which I think technically could work with Mark IVs, but I don't like Mark IVs, so we're going to use Mark Vs. And then we have the floor lift, which will feed that in. Alright, so that is the petroleum coke set up like that. And we're still going to have to do, obviously, some work connecting everything across. But for now, yeah, let's actually do that. So, petroleum coke goes in there. And the alumina solution has to go into each of these 4 batches. So let's just get some floor holes in for that. So you get one, and you get one, and one goes there, and the last one goes there. And these are not exactly lined up neatly, but that's fine. Alright, so those all go down like that. And now we just have to connect everything across. So the petroleum coke output is here, and it needs to just go straight up. To around there-ish, I would say. And then has to loop around to that. Done. Petroleum coke attached. Next up, we need to bring the alumina solution pipes down. And they go straight through this floor. So let's just form them up into groups like that for organization purpose. So those two go down there, and then Oh wait, no, those aren't the two over to that side. There's this one even further over. Yeah, so you can come into there, and then you go almost directly down. And then we get that group, which can go down to that. Okay, apparently I'm just really bad at finding these. We actually have that one and that one. Alright. There's also like there's also very little power over in that area, so let's bring a power pole just so that we don't fall and die unexpectedly. And then we're down here, and we just need to connect this up in a way that uses the most of the pipes, so something like this, and then over and up. And then same thing again, that one goes up. How do I mess this up every single time with these two? So that goes over there. And this comes over here and then up. Alright, now we just need to head lift these, which we have a large amount of power now, so we don't really need to worry about doing all the fluid tower shenanigans. We can just plop down some pumps to make it easy. You get a pump, and you get a pump. Alright, and then that won't have any obvious effect until this is all actually connected up. But should work. Apparently we need another pump. Yeah, we need another line of pumps on these. So you get one. I don't know why it wants to pump down. That seems counterproductive. Yeah, it really wants to pump down on all of these for some reason. Alright, but we're just about there. So that goes to those two. So now we should have enough head lift to get up here. Alright, now we just have to go over here and worry about the outputs. So the amount of water is going to be 2 batches of 500 some. So first we need foundations back here. So those all go across and fill in this giant gap. Like that. Alright, so water. Actually, we need to merge up the solids so that we know where the water has to go, because the water is a bit more flexible like that. So if these are 260, then Mark III belts, I want them to be straight belts, are going to be the best. So you merge up like that. And you merge up like that. And then another one. And one more. There, there, and there. Alright, so now we have 260 times 3 is 780. So we have 4 belts of 780 aluminum scrap, just as planned. Then we need to bring these pipes across and get 2 pipes of 546 or so water, and then bring that back down to the ground floor. that'll be that. And then this goes along to here. And a little bit further. Alright, now we connect these water pipes up. So this all goes in. All this goes in. And there we go. So then these just connect up. And then we'll worry about bringing this water down to the ground level. And then finally the actual scrap smelting itself. Alright, so we have that. Now we want to go down to the ground level, which just go there and there, I guess. Just have these be relatively close. Alright, actually we don't want that there because it's going to be going into that pipe there. So it would actually be more convenient for it to go down through that and not this. So let's take that out. And then we go down. And then just carry this through. And like that. And same thing over here. We get a floor hole. Pipe goes into the floor hole. And then down the other side. And into that. Alright, so that is all of that annoying stuff dealt with. Now, we just have to come up with a system for smelting 780 aluminum scrap. Which should honestly not be too bad. Like, it should just be a case of a relatively simple blueprint that we can just copy 4 times. Because we don't currently have one, right? This one is going to be... where is it? 960 scrap to 480 ingots, which is obviously not the right number. So, let's just get in. Apparently we need more space for the blueprint designer. So that goes in. And then we need to figure out how many... It's smelters, right? Yeah, it's smelters. Alright. Now if we want this to be like maximally space efficient, it would be a splitter there. I don't actually know what the numbers are going to be, so let's figure that out. So it's 60. So this doesn't even need to be a smart splitter. This can just be a regular splitter. And we should be able to squeeze this in even more compact. So if we push that all the way over to there, and then move the smelter all the way up to there. I don't know if saving that extra space will get me anything, but it might. So that's 60, 120, 180, 240, 300, and can we get power over here, please? There we go. 60, 120, 180, 240, 300, 360. Okay. But if we If we use both sides of the splitter, we can do this all in a single row, which will be a lot cleaner. So there's actually just not going to be space constraints at all, really. So let's just get a smelter in so that we have everything lined up properly. And then a splitter. And another smelter facing the other way. And that is 120, 240, 360, 480, 600, 720, 780. Now we just need to fill the other side of this in. Get them all lined up, and then put the splitters in. And the last one doesn't need to have a smelter, right? Right. Because this is 780, not, what, 840 or whatever it would be. Alright, so then we put all the splitters in. And hopefully there'll be enough space to merge them up as well. Although it might be a bit cramped, but we should be able to do it. Alright, so now we just have to place a whole lot of very small belts and not miss any. Alright, then that last one can also technically be Mark 1. I'm gonna sneeze. Sorry about that. And then, let's see. That can be Mark 3 because there's going to be 180 going down there. Then this is going to be 300, so that needs to be Mark 4. This needs to be 420, so that can also be Mark 4. And then everything from this point on is Mark 5. Alright, so we have that. And now we need to merge up the outputs. Which, oh, I really should have set the recipes first, but that's fine. It's a good thing I clicked on that smelter, or I would not have realized. Alright, so now those are all set up. Now we pop in the mergers. And this will be... It's 780 scrap in, so it's going to be 390 aluminum ingots out, I think, is how the math works. So even a Mark IV belt would be fine for this. Alright, so that all merges up. And then we pop that in. And then we definitely do not connect those two up. That would be very bad. Because those two need to not be connected, or else there will be issues. Alright. So then we have all that. And then we have to connect up this side. And as far as the outputs, these are 30 each. So that's going to be 30 and 60 in Mark 1 belts, 90 and 120 in Mark 2 belts, 150 and 180 in Mark 3 belts, and then it just goes up to Mark 5 belts for fun. And then let's also make sure, while we're making a blueprint, we should have all these powered on so that we do not need to do this 4 times. So we get that power line in. Then we can go across to another power line to get all these guys in. And there we go. Alright, so now we can save this blueprint as aluminum ingots. We're going to call this Mark V because that's the belt speed. 780 aluminum scrap to 390 aluminum ingots. Save that blueprint, clear the designer, and delete the designer. Alright, so now that we have that, you can just place it in a couple of times. And it's going to line up something like this, maybe one tick over. Yeah, that looks right. So then that goes into there. And then we're going to need all of this space as well. And it really does take up basically all this space. So let's go all the way out to there. And that looks like you might have trouble squeezing them in next to each other. So if they're perfectly like squeezed in like that, it technically takes up too much space. That's fine. We do have a gap in there which should help reset that a little bit. Keep it from getting too off-centered. Alright, then this goes in. And it is squeezed all the way over to there. And that goes in there, and then one more. Alright. And boom. Alright, so that is all of that. Now we're in sort of the closing phase for this. So what we need to do is we need to connect all of these guys up to each other and then to power. Then we need to connect all the rest of the machines up to power. Alright, so these guys are all yellow. That's going to be completely unnoticeable bump, although our power production is once again oscillating wildly. We're going to have to stop by there to just figure out what the heck is going on. Alright, so now we connect all of these up to power, and then we connect the inputs into everything, and then this will all be good, except for the fact that we probably don't have enough bauxite. Alright, that is not what I intended to do, but sure. That small power pole can handle some of those things, I guess. There we go, then we get all the rest of these in. And top floor done, connected to power and everything. Also, the previous top floor isn't even working at 100%. I think the bauxite supply is nowhere close to enough. Like, we really need to attach that new mine in that we were making. Alright, so all these go in. And let's see, get another power pole over here to get the rest of these. Alright, so that is all of that in. Then we go down another layer. And place that in. And now we start attaching up these machines. So those are all in. And then a little bit more. And we get all of these. Alright. So that is all the machines powered up. Then the next step is going to be the resources. So we have 2 belts of bauxite there and there. We have a pipe of crude oil there, and 2 pipes of water there and there. Are these going to be half a pipe of water each? Yeah, 200 some, 200 some. Alright. So let's start with the relatively easiest one, the bauxite. Which is actually not going to be easy at all. Because this whole situation here is a bit of a mess. And we never balanced the bauxite output, which is the problem. So, in order to fix that, what we need is to get a whole... this is going to be hard. This is actually just not a trivial solution no matter what we do. Okay, so I think what we have to do is... Do we have space here? Not really. Where do we have space? We can build it in this area as a logistics floor and then branch it up. Yeah, that's what we'll have to do. So that should still be high enough that we're not going to have any problems hitting trains. And what we need to do is a 5 to... what, 4? Because we have 2 full belts there, a mostly full belt there, and a less full belt there. So we need to do like a 5 to 4 balancer, basically. Okay. So, first, we're going to have to tear all this out. Because this is no longer what we want to be doing. And then, let's see, have I actually built a 5 to 4 balancer before? No, I haven't. But it shouldn't be... I mean, it's not going to be complicated. It might just be space-consuming and clumsy looking. Alright, so this logistics floor has to go along this way. And then these will go up through a floor hole right on the edge. Like that. And like that. The good news is that since this isn't running for a short time, it'll have time to maybe catch up on the input. Alright, so these all go in. And that one. And one more. Alright. So we have all of these up onto this logistics floor. Now we need to balance them, which is going to be tough to do efficiently. But what we need to do is basically split each of the 5 of them into groups of 4, and then merge each of those groups of 4 up together. So we just need a splitter followed by 2 more splitters. And then this goes out to 2 belts there and 2 belts there. Alright. So each individual one is not going to be too hard because we can just do that. But then we have to combine these groups of 4 up. And also not miss any internal belts like that. So we have that. And then we have this one going out into its batches of 4. And let's just see if we can actually streamline this process by just doing the same step for each of these 3. So then they get these splitters facing this way. And they get these splitters facing this way. There, there, and there. And then they get the output belts. So we got there, 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 and there. And we get there, 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 and there. Alright. One more batch. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Alright, we now have a 5 to 20 splitter. What we need to do next is make that 5 to 20 splitter and go a 20 to 4 merger. And we have to specifically take one of each of these into it. So this is going to be a massive mess, I think. So we start with this one. And we merge that one up with that one. And then we go forwards a bit. Okay, these are not connected across properly. That's important. Gotta get those in. Those. And all of those. And all of those. Alright, so the connection has been made. And we have to just keep going along with this. So this is there. And we need like 2 more of these mergers. Which is not the most convenient thing in the world. Alright, then we have this one, which comes over here, and into there. And then this one comes back here, and into there. Alright, so this is our first of 4 done. then we need... Gosh, it would have been easier to just have a 5th and then just not have to worry about all this. But that's fine. Alright, so 2nd of 4. How are we going to have space for this? Where on earth is the space for this going to come from? I guess we could send them over that way. Because, yeah, I mean, this is not exactly convenient. So what if we... But if we can fit 2 on a single level, then we can just cover over that and have a second little miniature logistics floor in here. So let's see if we can figure that out. So this goes out to there. Now we could just clip. Clipping is technically an option which is available. However, going up like this is also an option which is available. So, why are we doing it with that one? I guess it doesn't really matter. It's going to be a mess no matter what. So you go up and across all the rows of belts and back down. And then we can just keep doing this. So we have 1, 2, that'll be the 3rd, that'll be the 4th, and that'll be the 5th. So then that comes up. That goes up. And this needs foundation in this area. And then this one doesn't even need to go up, it can just come around. Alright, so now this comes over to there. This comes over to there. And then we send all of these down. Let's get more foundations in here, because we always need them. So that one goes like that. And then this one comes around like that. Alright, so now, if I'm correct, we have 2 of our belts. And now we need to see if this scheme will work. So, when these went up a level, did they go up high enough to be concealed by this foundation? They're going to be clipping. Alright. Well, that's not convenient. But what if we went back down? I mean, these trains are not very tall, right? So as long as we're not going too far down, we should be able to use a little bit of extra space in here. Can we use that much? Maybe? Is that... Okay. Well, that is fascinating as an option. It's not even... I have to, like, angle myself correctly to even see those foundations instead of just the freight platform. So the answer is we could go down there. However, I think a better solution is to just go a little bit down at first, and then like over here, and then down another level. I sent this too far, but that's fine. So now, if we're over here, we can have another wall down, and then have all of this space over here available to us. And if we can get 2 on that floor, we can get 2 on this floor. So, now we just have to send all of these down. So that goes down to there, which... Ooh, do we want that there? I think we want it just like one space further over, I think. So let's just do that, like that. And yeah, that train is totally fine. Alright, so now let's focus on getting all of these down into that. There we go. And then there you go. So this should be fine. That goes in there. And that just automatically attaches up because it's close enough there. And then we connect these, and just a couple more. Alright, then this one should be close enough to auto-connect. And let's run that so that that's full. And we just keep popping these in. And then one last one. Alright. So now we have all these. And we need to bring them across to the platform over here. So the first couple here are going to be trickier. So this goes like that, and then just down. Then the rest of these, I guess we just do all of these like that, for consistency's sake, just to get them all lined up properly. Alright. So those are all in. And now these can come across the ceiling a little bit, and then down to there. Across the ceiling a little bit, and then down to there. Across the ceiling a little bit, just to make sure that they don't go down too aggressively and cause problems for the trains. So these just keep on going. And just keep on going. Like that. And like that. Okay, this ceiling needs to be expanded one. I don't know how we keep having these. I keep being confident that I've filled in the last hole in the floor, and then there keeps being another one. Don't know how that keeps happening, but it's not really a problem. So that, and then this needs a little bit more foundation there. And for some reason that's not. It's not giving me the line that's demonstrating it straight, but there we go. We have all of these guys in. So now we just gotta combine them up. So we do that with a bunch of mergers, just like last time. And this gets every other one. Like that. And then we're going to get the rest of these. Like that. And like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. That's all of them. And then we just bring these the last little bit in. And connect all of these mergers up. Alright, now we regret bringing these down a level, actually. So let's actually just not do that. These ones can stay up by the roof. And then we go over here. Get some extra space. And then we get these in. So this is lined up like this-ish. Hard to tell if it's... Okay, it's one off of the central line. So we put the merger there. And then we take this. And it is just gonna go across the ceiling until like here-ish. And then drop down into that. Then the rest of these are going to likewise go across the ceiling a bunch. So that will get them out of the way of the other row. So there we go. And so now we have... Okay, don't snap into whatever you were doing there. So then you just come down there. And we just get a whole bunch of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now these come down. And in. And we merge them all up. And done. Alright, so now we have our 4 belts. So we have 2 out here and 2 back there. So, what we need to do is just get floor holes so that we know where these are going. So it's very hard to tell exactly with all of the foundation. So that. goes there, and into that. And then this goes there, and into that. And then we had another two which were already doing something. So that is that floor hole and that floor hole. So we need to bring these two back around to there. Which I guess we're going to have to lift them up to give them the altitude and the sharp direction change. So then this can come over there and snap into that. And then this can go up there. And then back here. And this is the other close one. Yes. Alright, cool. So this needs a lift, which I am kind of surprised it didn't already have. But that goes in there. And done. Now we have these two. So this loops around this way. And this will go through this floor. So we have an intermediate floor hole like that. And then down to here, where that connects up. And then we have this one, which will go all the way over this way. And we're going to need a lot of foundation to get this over there. Fortunately, we are basically permanently underneath powered buildings at this point, so we'd have to go real far out to not have hover pack. So then this comes over here, and then that is connected. Alright, all of that, and we have bauxite in. Looks a bit funky going through here like that, but it should be fine. Is this already saturated? It is already saturated. So then how is this one not already saturated? Oh, it is. Okay, sure. The answer is that just gotta wait for like an extra 5 seconds. And then these are cooking along as well and filling up pretty quick. Alright. So that is all that. Bauxite, done. Next up, we need the... what's it called? We need the crude oil, which should be dramatically simpler. It's just a single pipe. And actually, it's probably still all just this one pipe, right? So that's 30. So it's 30, 60, 60 there, another less than 60 there. So that's 108 crude oil total. Our new additions are not all that much either. So we can not, we don't need to do that. What we need is to rotate the scroll wheel in the correct way. Bring this pipe over. And I guess pop it in there, centralized to speed it up. So that will make our polymer resin and heavy oil residue, which will then get the petroleum coke going. And then the last raw input we need is water. So we do need to actually get the water, which is... So the good news is that there's water right down there. The bad news is that... Oh, we do have a water tower, actually, somewhere around here. That's convenient. Well, let's run down another wall, because this one's just getting kind of crowded. So this wall can come down here. And we're just going to add in some more water extractors and some connect it all up to the head lift system. And then it should be good to go. So down we go. Just constructing a wall. Nothing to see here. We're almost at the ground level. I say almost, we're still very high up in the air. But relatively speaking, at least. Did we ever make a hypertube cannon in this vicinity? I don't think so. We'll do that to get our way back up. Alright, so this is... Actually, no, we can't do that because we have to drag the pipe up. Alright, so now we are going to head over here. Oh, we need to bring power in order to be able to hover. There we go. Hover pack ability established. So now we go production. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 water extractors. That adds up to 600 water, which is more than we need. So now we combine all of this across like that. Snap that last one in and get these guys producing. They're going to need to produce a lot in order to fill up the whole pipes that we need, because we need a lot of pipes. Now we just take this pipe over this way. And let's see, there's nothing especially fancy we have to do, right? Just link it into this pipeline. So we have that. And then we have our junction. And up it goes. This just keeps on going up, and hopefully this works, because if it doesn't, it's going to be annoying. Alright, pipes go up, and we hover. Hover pack makes this so much nicer. Doing this with a jetpack or a ladder would be absolutely miserable. But with a hover pack, it's basically just a breeze. So hopefully the head lift system works and this can fill up. If it doesn't, then we're going to have issues. But we're up to here. And now we need this to loop around this way. And we just need to get it past all of this stuff and into these new systems. So like that. And then we have those two connected up. And then we have to connect these two up, and I would like to bring this back and connect it up from this spot so that it splits well and it doesn't manifold across more than it needs to. So we have that in, and now both of these sides should get even water pressure. And theoretically, this whole thing should start working. Alright, it says idle. And it, boy, is it not getting a lot of water quickly. Oh, there it go. Got a big burst of water there. And there's some alumina solution for you. Alright, so that is obviously just going to take a while to wind up, fill with alumina solution, and get working. So, in the meantime, let's just check that what's going on with these things. They look fine, assuming that there's enough bauxite, which, let's be real, there probably isn't. So we do have those three outputting. So hopefully our new balancing system should also improve things on this train from getting weird, and to, like, having half of these empty out before the others as well. Although it looks like that might just happen regardless. Now this is consistently showing up with full train loads of bauxite. Which is pretty helpful. Alright, and there's going to be a bit of a delay. Which actually, hang on, that delay is an issue, isn't it? Yeah, it is. So because the new factories are using 780 a minute, there can't be any pauses. Like, any pauses will just instantly break the entire thing. So, in order to solve that, fortunately there is a relatively easy fix, but it is going to require tearing out this stuff. So, what we need is industrial storage containers. So we just have one of these for each of these outputs. And we want to make these as close in as possible to not be weird with the trains. Because now we can fill these containers with 2 belts at a time. And then they will have their own internal buffer. And that buffer will drain at 780 a minute. And it'll all be fine. Alright, so that goes in. Now, we just need to get all of these back in. Also, why was I using Mark 5 belts there? So all of these get their Mark 5 belts in like this now. And then these go up. And should be good to go. So now we can connect them across like that. And is that 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes. So now these industrial storage containers will regulate that, and we should get the maximum output, and it shouldn't get disrupted at all. Alright, then these seem to be working. We're getting plenty of bauxite output, as far as I can tell, at least. And we are starting to get water in these pipes. Not full yet, obviously, but it is getting there. So now the only thing left to do is the smelter outputs. So, yeah, as expected, these are already... The belts are already saturated, and these machines are starting to load up themselves. So, we have 2 of these to fill. So that... and that. Now these go forwards. And we're gonna need another 2 sinks for them. So let's just have those up here to save space. Why is that crooked? Please just place normally. Alright, so now we have that. And we pop Smart Splitter there. Smart Splitter there. And then we take some extra foundations over there. So you get an awesome sink into that. And then you go across this way. Actually, can you go down early? Yes, there's plenty of space. Alright, that is convenient, because we need space for this to have its own awesome sink. And left, overflow, left, overflow, and then we power the awesome sinks up. And so that should be going around the clock now, without ever being interrupted, which is important for these. And now we just send these down a level, like that. And then they have a long way down to go. Don't know exactly how long, but probably something like that. Yeah, something like that. And then we need this foundation to expand out so that we have a landing zone for this. So that goes down like that. This comes down there. And now these can head over this way. And then they will be able to help fill up the trains, which are somewhere, probably. So let's just keep bringing these over. And I guess that floor hole there is going to be something train related. So we can pop down here. And yes, that floor hole is the train output. Alright, so now we need to get all this improved. So this is already Mark V belts. So then what we need is to, let's see, load it from different spots. So let's see, if we do that, and that, and that, and that, maybe that will work, although no, because then we're just neglecting that. Alright, no, we can keep the bottom floor as it is and just load the top floor from two directions. So the top floor is going to be like that, and then this is a merger, and that is a splitter. Alright, so this will be a little bit weird, but it should approximately work. And approximately working is mostly fine for these. We do the fancy balancing at the input side anyway, as opposed to the output side. So now we just need some more floor holes. So this goes up to there and into a floor hole. And it lines up like that. Then this one all the way over here, is there a space in this area? Probably not. So we'll just send it up to there. And then go over this way. Into another floor hole in this area. Which hopefully should be fine. I think I remember there being a good amount of space there. If there isn't, we will have to adjust. But those are all in. Now we can go up. And yeah, plenty of space for these two. And now we just have to pop those in. And pop those in. And boom, increased aluminum ingot production. So that should help out a lot. And I don't think any of these will be even close to saturated. Maybe this first one will be getting more than the others because it's getting that one as well, but that's fine. Again, close enough is fine for these because any balancing and stuff we need to do is done at the other side. We just need to get it roughly into all of the different train cars. Alright, and now we get to figure out where and why this is failing. Alright, so it's currently stopped because the train is loading, I guess. Yes, alright, so it was stopped while the train loaded. Now it's going again. And we got a good amount of aluminum into all of those. Love to see it. So hopefully that will keep the fused frame factory going, and the RCUs keep both of those running smoothly. However, these should be full belts, and they obviously aren't, which means, incredibly unsurprisingly, that this hasn't worked first try. So what's your problem? No heavy oil residue. Cool. And then if we go over to here... Oh, I forgot to sync up... Yeah, so I put the sync in, but I never powered it. So let's fix that. So now these should be back to normal, outputting heavy oil residue, which should get these started up again. So that is a quick, easy fix, but it would have bricked the entire factory if I hadn't noticed. This is why we do bug fixing. And then I assume petroleum coke shortage is everywhere here. Yep, sure is. And so this is basically stopped while that happens. And then in the meantime, it also looks like this isn't outputting correctly, because these should be outputting 30 a minute, and it seems like they are struggling to actually get out onto the belts. Which they shouldn't be. Yeah, I mean, this should not be producing this fast. Like, to be keeping up with that. I guess it's probably fine. I guess it's probably not an issue. Okay, these are running again, which means the petroleum coke must have showed up. Yep, there it is. And that means more aluminum for everyone. And so this is going to have to get warmed up once more. Let's see, these belts look... they don't look great. They do not look great. What was with that? Probably still petroleum coke being a bit spotty from the other stuff. So that isn't a concern. This should all be going fine. The petroleum coke shouldn't take too long to warm up, but it is fluids and it has been manifolded, so it'll take a bit at least. So I guess one way to fix that is just throw some summer sloops in there. And you know what, if this is going to be temporary, I want it to be as temporary as possible, so we're obviously not using all these summer sloops full time. Okay, this one looks like it is piling up polymer resin. Or it's just slower to get rid of it. Okay, this last one isn't getting any crude oil. Yes, I forgot to connect it up. So let's pop that in. And by the same token, this last one needs to be outputting. So there you go as well. And that one did get connected up to the heavy oil residue pipes. Alright, and speaking of heavy oil residue, it looks like it is filling up nicely. Should be able to take the summer sloops out probably around now-ish. Gonna give them another couple seconds. So that should be fine. So now we can just take all these out, get our summer sloops back, set these guys all back down to a normal, healthy speed. And then that should be that. So the petroleum coke shortage should no longer be an issue. It looks like these are running nice and smoothly. Alright, so for now at least, it looks like this has started up properly. And funnily enough, I think the larger scale is actually preventing problems here because it just takes less time to warm up when the pipes are nearly full. So yeah, we have a pretty significant amount of aluminum ingots heading out. Now, do we want to accelerate this somehow in order to not waste output like this? I think it's probably fine if we're still desperate for aluminum ingots even after all of this. Then we might go through and make sure something is done about that, but for now, it's probably not an issue. What probably is an issue is the bauxite supply. So currently we are just draining that. This is the last one with any bauxite for some reason. And the rest of these are fully empty at this point. But the bauxite train is returning, and we'll see if it returns with a full cargo, and if it does, then... Alright, it is returning with a full cargo, so that's nice. Now, I think this might actually be, like, causing the problem, because if this stops here for longer than it needs to because this car hasn't fully emptied, that could delay it returning again. But I think we might genuinely need a second bauxite train, which is concerning because this is not designed for that at all. We would need to, well, all we would need to do is we would just need to push this train line back a ways so that a second train can fit in here without getting stuck and backing up everything else. So it wouldn't be like an enormous headache, but it would be a headache. But if this train is consistently bringing full loads and it's not enough, then we would need a second train. So we're going to have to monitor that and see if it is the case. Now, this should equalize eventually, right? Because this particular thing is going to be outputting the most if it empties last. And how much is in that freight car? Still a huge amount. I don't want to, like, delete bauxite and waste it while this problem is happening. Although, it also looks like this car is using a lot less, maybe? Okay, no, it's just stopped while it empties off the last of that. But we do need to make sure that this balancing is actually working properly. Because if, like, one of these is disconnected, then that would be a serious problem. Or if it's only connected with Mark IV. Alright, so the train is emptied. And it should be on its way soon. Yeah, there it goes. Just had to wait for some traffic. So the train is heading off. Those ones, the train is already fully unloaded. This one, the station is still almost entirely full. This one's still got a little bit in it. So yeah, you would expect that over time, like this always being the last one running would eventually cause it to empty out and equalize with the others, or at least to the point where the train shows up, fully unloads, and then immediately leaves. I don't know how long that'll take, especially because these buffers, they're not huge, they're also not tiny. They're not tiny buffers at all. But yeah, the perpetual question is there enough bauxite input to keep this going permanently? And currently these are running out pretty quickly, so I would say probably not. Now, it might be actually a problem of input balance, which would be annoying, because the inputs do have to be at least mostly balanced, right? But every time the train has showed up, all the cars have been full, so I don't think that's it. I think these trains being fuller than the others is just like a product of starting conditions, and it'll eventually, well, either it'll equalize. There's no way it just stays like this, right? Okay, well, if the train comes back that fast, it might genuinely just stay like that forever. Assuming that this is, yeah, it is capped out. Alright, so what's happening now is that this storage container is, yeah, it's actually just over full and it's throttling the overall throughput, I think. Because all of those empty out immediately and then the train immediately leaves. It gets through the loop faster. But if it stays here waiting for this, then it doesn't. Although, I don't know, maybe it's not a problem. Like, maybe there's just enough here that it'll work. Who knows? Let's check. Items per minute is 571 each platform that I can see. I can't see this one, but I would imagine it's going to be the same. And 571 times 5 is almost 3,000, which has got to be enough. And actually, yeah, we do see that some of these seem to be filling up more than they were previously. Which I don't know if that's great, but if this is working out nicely, then that would be cool. I'd really appreciate it if we could just fill up all of these boxes and then not have to worry about it again. But that just depends on how quickly we can output this. So yeah, I actually think, just as an experiment, I'm going to help this along by just taking a bunch of that out. And oh, okay, I guess that much is fine too. So with that much out, then this will unload quicker, and there should be enough space for this. So if we let this go for another cycle, it should prove what happens. And then let's just clear all that extra bauxite out. Because we do not need an inventory full of bauxite. So there we go. Now this still takes ages to unload because it's ultimately just being capped by how fast those two belts can unload it. But hopefully future loops, there'll be enough space in here. Alright, so there it goes. It's about to empty out the last car. Which hopefully will leave enough space in this box to just fully empty this immediately every cycle. And then we can see what happens there, if there's enough bauxite or not. Alright, so that has happened. And this is now filling up. And this is now emptying. So now we just have to see what happens if this empties fast enough. And I will take a bit more just to make sure that there's enough free space for it. We need this to have, like, what, 3 rows, maybe 4? We need this to have 3,200 spare bauxite space, theoretically. Alright, so that is going. And gosh, it fills this up fast, doesn't it? So let's keep taking out of this. Because for the science, we need to see what happens. And that should be enough spare space. It fills up so fast. It's actually crazy. With two Mark V belts, do move pretty quick. Alright, so this is now at the point where it is not going to fully load this, but it is probably at the point where it'll fully load this. Now these ones over here on the edge are still emptying out immediately, which I don't fully understand, but because, like, this one in the middle isn't. It could be that I've somehow messed up my balancing, but I don't think I made any mistakes with that. So if the balancing is, for whatever reason, prioritizing these left 3, then that would make sense. But I don't think that it is. Alright, so now this comes along and it should just deploy the entire cargo immediately and then leave. And that should be pretty fast, hopefully. So obviously all this is shut off while that happens. But hopefully those 2 boxes are enough to at least keep it kind of going. Alright, so then yeah, this gets its 4 crates. And now we see, because there has been a lot less delay, so theoretically, actually what we need to do is we need to just put, oh man, this is all like this, huh? There's not any room to put a throughput monitor on this side. So I guess we can put it on the other side. It's just going to require a lot of them. So, logistics, throughput monitor. You get one, you get one, you get one, you get one. There, 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 there. You just have to have one of these on each of them, and they should all be equal. If they are not all equal, then that will be a signal of some critical flaw. And I think the specific number they should be is like 78. Well, they won't be fully 78 because the belts aren't all going at 780. And also because these are not all running properly, which is a whole other problem, which I don't want to deal with. So this is a luminous solution. Backlogging everywhere. Is that the cause of the disruption? Yes. There's too much alumina solution in the system. So the heavy oil residue is getting made. Petroleum coke is getting made. So what is holding back the alumina solution usage? It is the petroleum coke somehow. Did I do the math wrong? These are all the same, right? These are all 52. So 52 times 12 is 624. And that is how many we have. So, is this making 624 petroleum coke? 102.4 times 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, this last one isn't getting heavy oil residue. Neither is this last one. So it's a heavy oil residue problem after all. So which one of these bozos isn't working? I still don't see... Oh. Okay, well, obviously. It has to actually be connected up in order to function. And we're going to put some summer sloops in these to expedite that problem fixing. It shouldn't take too long because it's like pretty close, right? It's just a little bit down. And so that should go in and fix everything. Alright, we're going to give this a couple more cycles, I think, because this still isn't fully good yet. You can see that these are up at 35 and 31 respectively. So yeah, give it a couple more cycles and then we will take this out. You can finish that cycle since you're almost done with it. And we'll take that out. And we'll take that out. Alright. That should be that problem solved. Now we've given it enough time to drop back down to this and see if these numbers are all the same. We have 36, 33, 39, 51, 33, 52, 53, 61, 106, 124, 210, 195, 195. Alright, so this is the answer to our question. It's completely screwed up. It is all messed up. And not at all correct. And yeah, the problem has instantly rematerialized. So, why are the far right ones getting higher price? Oh, I know. I've figured it out. So the problem is that we have these chains, right? Where all of these get merged one after the other. But when we do it like that, the ones closer to the end of the chain get priority over the ones closer to the front of the chain. So when it's backed up like this and not using a full 100% of the belt, like all of these are, because they're either only using less than that intentionally or because they're slow because of other problems, then most of the bauxite gets used from this side and not as much gets used from the other side. So that's the problem. And the solution is we need to unchain these. So instead of being lines like this, we need to make, how to describe it? We need to make sure that they're all even, basically. So the good news is it's still going to be useful to have all of these in the same area, so we don't have to do most of the work. We just need to take this and grab some more space. So this is 5 to 1. So if we... How is this going to work? I mean, theoretically we don't need to make it perfect. Again, we just need to make it better, I think. So if we do that, and then that goes in like that, and then these two merge up. Let's see, so those go in. This one might be getting priority because it's outputting in 2 ways. But I think that fixing that's going to be too much work. So let's at least try this for this group. So then they can just do that. And now we need to figure out... Yeah, this central one is definitely going twice as fast. But if I cut one of these two, then what'll happen is that this will only have 2 going into it, and this will have 3 going into it. And then each of those will get half, so it'll be even again. So I think this is probably the closest we can get. And what we should do is probably just not worry about it, honestly. Like, it's probably good enough. And then we'll just do that for all of these. And, okay, that one's 0. Why is that one... A whole bunch of these are actually 0 now. Which means something is stopped entirely. Yes, this entire thing is jammed. Okay. Wonderful. Well, that's the alumina solution using fresh water. So let's... If we just take all of this alumina solution out, it should unjam it. And then hopefully if it's producing without any problems again, then it will not re-jam itself. But I'm not optimistic about that. We might have to fiddle around some more to get it to function properly. And at least we have that going for us. And so then we need to redo this one to the better version. Alright, so we get a merger, and we get a merger. Now this one is empty currently because of the dumb stuff that it does. And those two go like that. You get a merger there. And then all of those just have to go in. This one is going to need to get cut back to there so that it can line up properly. This one is going to need to get cut back to there so that it can line up properly. And then we just merge these two batches together. Like that. And then we're going to need to apparently redo this anyways. So that comes up over there and in. Alright, so that's two of those sets fixed, and that should at least make it better and more balanced. And then we just have to drop down to get these ones fixed. So this all comes out. And then we get a merger and a merger. That goes back and then in. That goes in. This one splits. And these two go in. And then those all connect up. Okay, now we just need to connect these across and send them into the output, which is that belt. And so we have that. Alright. Then we might have to move that belt again because it's going to be in the way of this. So you can all go out. And this looks like it might still be jammed. Still looking like a big fat zero going through here. So this is just going to line up like that. And then it all goes in. You get a splitter. And this is going to be a little bit scuffed. So I didn't get that lined up properly. So that all goes in. Let's get that random conveyor pull out of there, and then get all of this in. And then we just need to connect these up. So that goes back to there. This comes to here and then over there. And we should be properly balanced now. Except for that middle belt, which is going to be a little bit overused. And so now we just need to figure out why these guys... Okay, I mean, they've just instantly frozen again. Probably because I needed to take out more alumina solution than I did the first time through. So let's empty this out even more. And also, I still have all this bauxite in my inventory. Go away. Alright, so that goes away. I mean, this really looks like it isn't flowing out at all, like not even 1%. And all that stuff looks like it's backed up too. Okay, so the actual problem is the water output is jammed. So let's take all of this out. Alright, water output, go away. Aluminum, how troublesome you are. There we go. Alright, now why are you idle? You're just taking a little while to start back up. I guess that's fine. Alright, and then we should head down here and clear out the alumina solution one last time, just to be sure that nothing weird happens. And we should go over here and make sure that there's no full spots over here either. That one's looking a little bit full. As is that one. As is that one. Alright, now there should be no excuse. They should just run. And it should be fine. Alright. So this is all backlogged. The petroleum coke is all backlogged. But it should be starting up again. Hopefully. Yeah, I mean, these look like they're running. They look like they might be filling up on water. But it looks... this side looks better, at least. Is it anything to do with, like, which side of the row you check? No, I think... oh, well, just because that's not the same thing. That was the previous row. It's this stuff that we're worried about. And it's definitely still backed up on water. So you get out of here. Alright, it's possible that I've just done the math wrong, which would be annoying but not too big of a deal. So let's check. Water output is 91 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 91 times 12. It's 1,092. Coming in 2 batches of 546. So, if we drop down here, then where is the water usage? This is 182 times 3, which is 546. Alright, I've checked it again. The water still lines up. So we should be fine. We should be fine, assuming that there are no further hiccups, which is a big thing to assume. And what would be really cool, just like the coolest thing ever, would be some sort of emergency abort system that can drain the water away, but only if we aren't actually using it. Now, I do have an idea, actually. So all this water goes down immediately. So, what if we had something up here, and I mean, is this even... no, this is pointless. It's not going to work. What I wanted to do was have like a last priority gravity thing, where if the water in this fills up, it'll go upwards and then out. But I don't even know like what I would do with it, because it's just water. It's not like you can just sink it. And I don't want to bring concrete over here just for that. So I think the solution is to just hope that it works. Speaking of hoping that it works, can we check out this, see if our improvements have improved anything or if they've made no difference. 84, 80, 112, 80, 131, 80, 112, 80, 228, 162, 230, 160, 129, 80, 106. Alright, so there's like there's like obviously a couple of significant outlier belts here. Like these two belts up in the 200s are not ideal. But the rest of them are much better, so that's nice at least. So we're going to have to figure out what's going on with those belts in particular. Did they just vanish? Did they just vanish? Yeah, they're gone now. Alright, they're down to like the hundreds now. So maybe it's just fine. Maybe it's been fixed. Or more likely, they're going to spike back up once bauxite starts flowing again. Because this center one, which is the one which is being consistently overused, is always going to run out first, basically. Alright. And it runs out first by a lot, too. That was the train just leaving. Which means that these ones over here have just... These are still entirely full. That box is 100% empty. These ones are still emptying. Now, this is probably fine, though. Just based on the math, right? If these are all... Well, this last one is lower for some reason. I don't know why. We're gonna have to return to this next stream, I think. I need to just think how to get these evenly split and balanced. Because I've done 4 to 4 balancers before, but adding the 5th in without messing with anything is apparently dramatically more complicated. So we're going to have to think about that. But I think figuring out how to resolve that issue will be the job for next stream. So we're going to wind up the stream here. Thanks everyone for hanging out. I had a lot of fun. I will be back streaming Satisfactory on Monday. So from 2 to 5 Eastern Time, as usual, I stream every weekday. So make sure to follow if you haven't already, so you can know when I'm live and what games I'm playing. And other than that, I'll be playing Factorio on Tuesday, where I believe we are still... Well, we're just about done in the process of automating our Tier 3 belts. So after that, our goal is going to be to expand our system, probably add additional squares for a couple of things, and hopefully that'll get green and red circuits producing fast enough, or at least faster. I don't think there's such a thing as fast enough, honestly, at this point. But yeah, that will be it for now. So if you're interested in Factorio, that'll be on Tuesday. If you're interested in Satisfactory, it'll be on Monday. So, thanks everyone for hanging out. Make sure to follow if you haven't